The data is very clear. Gen Z is the loneliest generation the world has ever seen. And we need to deal aggressively with the things that are causing our loneliness and isolation. And that's what today's episode is going to do. We're going to dissect 4 root causes that are driving millions of Gen Zers to be lonely and isolated in the United States. I got to say, as I was researching this, the first problem was pretty obvious, but as I got progressively down the list, it became more and more surprising to me. So let's hop in. The first problem is social media addiction. 80% of Gen Zers have felt lonely in the past 12 months, and 28% of us report always feeling lonely, which is a shocker because our generation is the most digitally connected generation to ever walk the earth. But here's the thing, social media does not equal social connection. 73% of Gen Zers associate tech with increased social disconnection. And that's because when we're on social media, the data says often we feel inadequate because social media puts us in boxes where we're comparing ourselves to the imaginary lives of other people that are often fake. And by passively scrolling on these imaginary lives, we're missing out on face-to-face interactions. And normally, when we meet face-to-face, our bodies release a series of hormones that help us develop long-lasting and meaningful friendships. But when we're online, doom scrolling, those hormones are not released. And all we're left with is dopamine from using our favorite social media platform. And without those hormones, without these face-to-face relationships, problem number 2 happens. The quiet death of fringe friendships. Fringe friendships are casual relationships built upon over time. So this would be somebody that you met at a coffee shop, at a gym, at a library, or something akin. Random acquaintances that over time you turn from being a acquaintance that you see 1 or 2 times to being long-term friends. And these fringe friendships are traditionally the gateway that people create long-lasting, meaningful friendships. So fringe friendships are very important to not be isolated, not be alone, not be lonely. But fringe friendships are on the serious decline. Less than 1/3 of Gen Zers have 5 or more close friends. And the way that we're spending our time is changing dramatically. Weekday socializing and communicating has plummeted. And the spaces that we depend on to create these fringe friendships, like a coffee shop or park, are all disappearing rapidly. So without these spaces to connect with people person to person, face to face, we have to increasingly rely on connecting with other people online, which is hugely problematic because, again, these online relationships oftentimes don't lead to long-lasting friendships. But here's the thing. If these spaces to create fringe friendships, random acquaintances where somebody's walking their dog and you say hello, if these parks, if these libraries, if these coffee shops are all going away, there's no opportunity to have these types of interactions. And to make matters worse, cause number 3, Gen Z is experiencing an abnormal amount of financial hardship. We literally cannot afford to go out and create meaningful connections with people. 41%, almost half of us, this is tens of millions of Gen Zers today, run out of money every single month. And we're running out of money in part because the amount of debt that we're holding is enormous. The personal debt of an average Gen Zer is almost double that of a millennial and Gen Xer. Gen Z's average debt is $94,000. So it's no wonder then why 56% of us say money negatively impacts our mental health. Only 22% of us feel financially stable, not financially thriving, are stable enough to make basic bill payments consistently. So when you can't afford to step outside and you literally cannot afford to buy yourself a coffee, let alone somebody else a coffee, things like dating are completely and totally off of the table. And so millions of us would rather remain single. 46% of us are single. And 37% of that single population say they're not interested in dating at all. Let's make sure we have a clear picture of what's going on before we progress to our 4th and final driver of loneliness and isolation within Gen Z. And that is currently Gen Z, not only are we broke, but we're in an incredible amount of debt, which is preventing us from doing basic activities that facilitate basic stranger to stranger interactions. I go to a coffee coffee shop. I notice your dog. Hey, you have a beautiful dog. Can I pet him or her? Sure you can. I'm Kenneth. What's your name? That's not happening anymore because we can't afford to go to the coffee shop, let alone afford to have a dog. So what do? We're spending the majority of our time online where it's free, readily accessible, but the problem is that these online connections are not really connections. You're tapping on a screen to follow somebody does not mean that you're friends with that individual. But the more time that you spend on social media, the more time, statistically speaking, you're likely to become disillusioned into believing that that relationship is in fact meaningful and beneficial. When the reality is, this is not social connection. This is a social cycle driven exclusively by dopamine. And these social media platforms, they profit when you become addicted to them. So you're stuck in a vicious positive feedback loop cycle where you're lonely. You don't like being lonely. You don't like being isolated. Nobody does. But you're stuck doing the same things over and over and over again because these things are not just a habit. These things are addictions. And if you want to learn more about addictions that Gen Z is facing, click this video right here. I walk through some of the major addictions that are plaguing millions of our lives right now and walking through how these are addictions, what the clinical reasoning is, what the research says about these addictions. And if you're struggling with one of them, we have resources and a community for you. Now, the fourth and final driver that we're going to cover in this episode, leading to millions of Gen Zers being isolated and lonely, is that millions of us are in a mental health crisis. And this mental health crisis is self-reinforcing, meaning it gets stronger over time. So 35% of us are depressed. 40% of us or more are often anxious, clinically speaking. 42% of high schoolers, so even the youth, report persistent sadness. And the thing that breaks my heart the most is that 5 to 18% of Gen Zers would rather be dead than deal with their problems. 1 in 5 of us know somebody who has died by suicide. 1 in 3 of us have experienced a traumatic event, many of whom being young women. First of all, if you are struggling with a mental health issue, please go get the help that you need. In this video here, I cover mental health issues that Gen Zs are facing and provide some huge critical resources that are helpful. We've already had so many people contact us saying that the video, the testimony, and the resources were helpful. So if you or somebody that you know is struggling with a mental health issue like suicidal thoughts, please check out those resources in the description to that video. So here's the bottom line. Millions of us are struggling with loneliness. Millions of us are isolated and see no way forward. And yet everywhere that we go in the culture right now, it seems as if everyone is super duper connected, living these fantasy lives with these fantasy people, and we're somehow, some way the odd ones out. I'm here to tell you, no, that's not true. That what you, my fellow Gen Zer, have seen, have heard, have experienced is oftentimes a lie. No, you're not strange. No, you're not odd. No, you don't have to do something. You don't have to make a certain amount of money to be worthy of having a meaningful connection in your life. There is a light at the end of this tunnel that doesn't require you to make a certain income or live a certain way or have a certain morning routine or have a certain profession. And that light is love. What would it do for your life if instead of living a life rooted in fear, you started to live a life that you truly loved, that every single day, regardless of the day, if it was good or bad, you woke up and you're glad to be in it? What would that do for your life? Far too many of us are living lives of fear, and I understand why. We're isolated. Millions of us. No more. No more. So I hope this video, if you're struggling with loneliness, you're struggling with isolation, that you know you're not alone, that millions of us are struggling with the same exact thing. And a part of this channel, we're going to be making a community of Gen Zers that are struggling so that we can work together to find solutions that actually work, that don't just sound good. So email me at this email if you're struggling with some loneliness. I would love to help you. Subscribe to this channel. Every single week, we're going to be walking through new problems that are plaguing the lives of millions of us because we need to bring these problems to light. These problems right now are in darkness. We're treating them as if they don't exist, and that's not the right strategy. So subscribe to the channel. Email me if you'd like. I'm here. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist, but I'm a great listener. And this channel is my prayer channel. If you need some prayer, contact me. I would love to pray for you. I'd love to pray for you. I think that the data is important and we need to pray too. Both things are important. Through our Lord, Jesus Christ, all things are possible, truly. So, Gen Zer, I hope you have a wonderful day full of love. Know that you're not alone and that we're attacking these issues, and know that all things are possible through Jesus Christ. I love you. I think you need to hear that. I don't know the last time that you heard that, but whoever you are, whatever you've done, however you've hurt yourself or other people around you, I love you. And there's one above who loves you even more than I do. And he's waiting for you. So with love, Gen Z, you're not alone. Come on this journey with us.